Okay, hello and welcome to the msdynamicsworld.com How to Optimize Microsoft Dynamics webcast series. I'm Jason Gumpert, and joining us for the first session in this series, today's event are Gina Pabalon, Director of Support and Optimization Services at Edgewater Fullscope, and Nigel Murdoch, Edgewater Fullscope's DBA Services and BI Practice Lead. During today's session, you can add your comments and questions through the Q&A and chat box that you'll see to the right of the slides here, and there will be quite a bit of demo and great information to share. So we look forward to hearing from you. So without further delay, please allow me to hand it off to our first presenter, Gina Pabalon.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, my name is Gina Pabalon, and I am the Director of Support and Optimization Services with Fullscope. We're really excited about the content today that we're going to be sharing with you. And throughout the presentation, we have multiple little links and resources for you. And some of them are quite long, so we created a bit.ly link. So if you would like to jot down that little bit.ly link, you'll be able to get to some of the resources that Nigel will be sharing with you. I'll give you a few seconds here to just jot that down. Terrific. Okay. Nigel, if you want to move to the next slide. Before we get into the content on the support on the AX performance optimization, I wanted to just share a little bit about Edgewater Fullscope. We've been an AX partner for the last, 10 years. And we have a dedicated team serving existing AX customers to help AX customers make the most of their AX investment. We offer advisory services, IT and ops support, optimization services, and training and enablement. These are all services that existing AX customers need. One of the key areas, of course, is system performance optimization. And this is the area in which Nigel leads and the topic of today's discussion. If you'd like to have further information about Fullscope's support and optimization service team and offerings, our contact information will be displayed at the end of the webcast. We will go ahead and move right into our topic for today's discussion. Nigel, the floor is yours.
Murdoch. As Gina mentioned, I'm leading the BI and performance optimization practices at Fullscope. I've been a developer and a SQL admin for over 20 years now, and have worked with Dynamics since 4.0. So I've seen quite a lot of different situations and scenarios, and have been involved in numerous different projects to improve performance, or in situations where performance has become an issue, and we've had to try to diagnose what the issues are, and how to get how to get more value out of the your investment in the hardware and software. So through those years and through the different situations I've been in, I've kind of developed a set of favorite tools and techniques that I kind of use on a general basis to try to resolve these type of issues. One of the things that I've definitely found is that obviously with AX, one size definitely does not fit all. There are so many different areas that can become performance issues and performance bottlenecks that you really do have to kind of have start out with kind of a broad look and really be able to identify what the issues really are, to be able to then target the optimizations, the correct strategy for optimizing it. So with that being said, I'm going to switch over to the next slide. If you give me just a second here. We'll move on to Okay, so obviously the big question and the big thing that always comes up is your ERP environment slowing down your business? Is it causing issues where you're spending more money on trying to resolve issues and find workarounds for your business users than where it becomes it's actually costing you money to do business because you're having to spend so much time trying to fix issues with the software. So kind of the path for us is the first thing we do when we come in is we come in and we like to analyze the current environment and see exactly what's in place so that we have a good understanding of what the different technologies are, and that kind of guides the approach through the tools and techniques. We always review the best practices and try to stay up with what the community is finding as being the best practices for keeping systems optimized specifically for a Dynamics AX application, which is has its own unique requirements. Once we've reviewed the best practices and kind of documented those, we like to put in a system of monitoring to collect statistics that we can then look back at and start looking at some of the trends and be able to identify where there is individual kind of point in time performance issues, or where there are more general performance issues that we're able to see a trend through the month or through the year, whatever the time frame is. So so that helps us. We go in, collect that data, identify the performance issues, and once we've done that, the next step is really is to continue collecting that data, resolve the immediate issues, but put in place a set of monitoring tools and a set of maintenance tools to really kind of try to avoid getting into those situations in the future. So we're looking at preventative maintenance by setting up SQL maintenance jobs for index maintenance and statistics updates, and then then we look at a more kind of long-term view of things as well, which is to really try to see what data in the system or what activities in the system are causing table bloating from either just excessive transactions or from those transactions that if they're not really needed, they're being saved, but where they could be pruned and purged out of the tables, because a lot of times a lot of the performance issues end up being related to just table growth, and the queries start running longer because they're trying to work over much more data than they probably need to. And so we kind of look at the process as a complete kind of holistic approach to identifying issues, monitoring it, and resolving them, but then taking care of setting up maintenance and care and feeding for the future. And the future, from what we see and from what Microsoft is kind of how they're leading us is LCS, which is Lifecycle Services. Unfortunately, it doesn't really help those of you that are on AX 2009, except for that it would help if you were in the process of moving forward to an upgrade situation. But for those of you on 2012 and forward, LCS provides a project umbrella that allows, that provides many different services and utilities for collecting that kind of data, for helping manage sizing and licensing estimations, and provides kind of an interface for finding targeted issue resolutions, for where you can search issues, find them, and it also has tools for looking at customizations and seeing where those if those customizations could be causing a problem, or it's just a lot of different tools, and just an incredibly collaborative workspace that allows partners and customers to tie their relationship together and provide a central repository and a central area for customers to come and look at issues and kind of be, give them some self-service, but then for partners to be able to like load up this data and communicate it to, document it, communicate it to the customers, so it really kind of raises the visibility and the ability to put that information out there without having to have a bunch of Word documents and PDFs floating around. You can set up the project, use whichever modules. You don't have to use the whole suite. You can just use the modules as you need them, and then keep it all organized and manage adding and removing users who are able to do different things in the system. So it really gives the customer a lot of control over managing their AX implementation, because most of the actual tools and utilities and project modules that start in LCS are initiated by the customer, who then invites their partner to join them as a member of their team, on their site and help manage the project from there. So that's the kind of total approach, from analyzing current environment to how we see us managing it in the future, and really keeping our hands around it and making it, really empowering everybody. So obviously there's when it comes to analyzing the environment, the first thing we always do is we're going to come in and look at what the current version of AX is and what build level you're at, what service packs installed, what roll-ups have been installed. And in AX 2009, the easy way to go find out what hotfixes have been installed was that there's a class in the AOT called syshotfix manifest that creates a method that that shows each hotfix. So that's where you would go to, that's been installed in the system. So that's where you would go to see, what hotfixes have been installed. In AX 2012, the process now is to go to the, help and about, and that's going to tell you your version and license information. But then it's also going to, if you go into the installed, modules, it'll show you which extra hotfixes have been installed on top of that. So that's a slight change. But this is one of the steps that we take. After reviewing the AX environment, we'll go and we'll analyze the SQL Server environment too, and do the same thing, where we try to see, exactly, what state the SQL stack is in, what version it's at, what service pack level it's at, and what cumulative updates have been installed. As we get all this information, it kind of helps us gather a good starting place to see if some of the issues that a customer might be seeing are based on their current versions of SQL or AX are not up to date, and that's a huge issue that needs to be addressed before you can really go an awful lot further. You want to make sure that you're working with the latest and greatest in whichever instance of the software you have at that time. So that's the next step. Then we start checking best practices, and we'll go to the AOT, and the most important thing here is we want to go and check and make sure that the AOSs have that have debugging turned off and tracing disabled. And what we're really looking for here too is just trying to make sure that no one has kind of come in and made some changes to the default configurations, trying to help a situation, and we need to understand if the default buffer size has been changed, why it was changed, if it was really changed for a specific reason, or if just somebody was trying to resolve an issue and change it. So we go in there and we want to make sure that all of those kind of the default configurations are correct. And there's a link here that you can go out here, and obviously there's many links, and I'm sure a lot of the people on the call have already looked at some of them, but there are many links that'll show you what the default configuration should be for a production environment. So it's important to go out there and check that and make sure that that nothing in the configurations of production are creating issues. One of the biggest things that we see is if somebody has turned on debugging in a production environment, that's a huge performance hit for AX. So we go in and check these. Then we do the same again for SQL Server. We check against best practices, and this is so important that these best practices are followed and used. The use of the auto growth can really cause a problem with the databases. So we check and make sure the auto growth is not turned on, and that the file placement is correct, or that the auto growth is configured correctly. Basically, I mean, auto growth it's okay to have it on, but it needs to be done in in large size blocks for the database, so that it's not doing it by a percent. So we have auto growth turned on, but with a defined amount, whether it's depending on the size of the database, whether it's 500 meg or whatever's appropriate for the size of data that you're working with. The RC, the file placement, this is a huge issue for AX. When a SQL Server stood up, it's so important that the drives are created correctly with the correct logical, with the correct LUNs and the correct RAID array, so that you keep your data files, on a, and if possible, you keep your AX data files on a separate LUN from all other data files. And if possible, hopefully you have a dedicated instance of SQL Server just for the production AX database. But if you don't, the most important thing is to make sure that you've got a separate LUN for your TempDB files, a separate LUN for your log files, and a separate LUN for your data files, and then your backups obviously often are on, and that the RAID configuration and disk configuration for those LUNs is optimal. For a really good high performance AX instance, if you can have everything running on RAID 10, then that's a great place to start. If you can get your log files and your TempDB files, possibly running even on flash storage, that's even better. But you need to, it needs to be, really fast storage for the TempDB especially, and for the log files. And then the recommitted snapshot isolation, that's the default setting for an AX database. That we check that as well and make sure that's turned on. Server settings, the best practice is to have auto create statistics and auto update statistics turned on, and this helps keep the statistics for the indexes, on the columns and indexes up to date as AX is doing its transactions. And then we check and make sure that the max degree of parallelism is set to 1 to help with with query processing. The trace flags, there's a lot of documentation about trace flags, and there are several recommended trace flags for AX. In my experience, the trace flags, really need to be, they really only should be used when you have a specific issue that you've kind of analyzed and you've identified that a certain trace flag will really offer a benefit for the issue that you're seeing. If you're having a problem with memory consumption and lock escalation, then you might turn on 1224. The ones that I generally turn on, at the, as kind of a standard are, 1117 for making sure that the TempDB files grow equally once you stripe it, and we'll get into that in a second when we talk about the TempDB. But I'll do that one, and then I'll generally set the 2371 flag for which kind of helps with auto update statistics performance. So it encourages SQL Server to update the statistics more frequently, and especially in large size tables where you get into millions of rows, and where the standard algorithm of 20% is really not. If you had to wait for 20% of rows to change before you updated the statistics, then those statistics would pretty much there's a good chance that they would be out of date and cause bad query plans long before they really should be updated. 4199 is a trace flag that I always turn on, which is a trace flag that enables other trace flags that have been identified through hotfixes and cumulative updates for the query optimizer. But anyway, there's a link here to a list of trace flags that kind of, and it gives you more detail. But as I said, they should really be used discriminately and only for an issue if you really do see an issue that the trace flag will address. So I kind of touched on the RAID configuration. It's really important to check bandwidth and latency. Make sure that that you're getting good throughput. The thing that I find more than anything in most of the situations that I look at, when I initially look at a performance issue, is that is either the lack of an adequate maintenance plan or incorrect maintenance. So this refers to making sure that backups are done correctly, and that if a database has a full recovery, that the log files are being updated, being backed up. But it really is it's really most important, or the thing that I see most lacking is that a lot of times people are not running database integrity checks. So the issue there is that you can run into a situation where you need to do a backup or a restore, a database starts failing, and because you haven't been doing a database integrity check, it's not until you get ready to do the backup or restore you find that that there's a problem with the database, and because you haven't been doing that check, and fixing any issues with the database, that you run into a lot more problems. The index maintenance and statistics maintenance are the next thing, and this is a huge issue for AX. I mean, if index maintenance is not being performed and statistics are not being updated, your AX instance is going to slowly over time, the performance is just going to degrade as the query plans get worse, and the SQL's having to work much harder to provide the data, and the query optimizer is just not able to function as well. So a good index maintenance plan and statistics maintenance is essential for AX. So that's kind of what we do. We come in and we do the analysis and start checking through the best practices and make sure everything is tuned right, and then we make sure that we get maintenance plans in place that will maintain those indexes and statistics. On the TempDB, that's probably the second major issue that we see constantly, and that is that in an AX database, the AX database uses, or the AX application uses the TempDB so heavily that if it's not properly set up and configured and optimized, that can really become the bottleneck that slows everything else down in AX. What you do on the TempDB is that if you have a database server that has 8 processors on the server, you should be creating 8 separate files for the TempDB data file, so that and you configure each of those files to be exactly the same size. Turn on trace flag 1117 117 to try to keep them the same size, which is what encourages SQL Server to have them grow at the same rate. And what that does is it enables parallel I/O access to the TempDB. So now you can have a process, each processor can be opening and closing a request to the TempDB independently and in parallel, rather than having to wait for single access to that TempDB database. So it really makes a huge difference to your performance of AX. So that's so probably the maintenance plans in the TempDB are critical to a healthy system. The way that or my favorite tool for, obviously there are a lot of tools that you can buy out there that help you gather this kind of information and services and stuff. But my favorite tool is built into SQL Server, and it comes standard with it. And it's very easy to set up. So generally, what I do is when I first go into system is I will configure data collection to go out and start capturing all of the statistics I need to be able to look at what's really going on in the system. So this tool gives you insight into the disk usage. So you can see how your disk, how it's growing, how your database is growing over time. So you can use that for sizing, estimation, and for storage planning. It looks at the query statistics, gives you some really in-depth information about that and about server activity, as far as memory and processors go. It can also be used to tie in with what's called the SQL utility, which is a kind of a management utility that's also part of SQL Server and gives you the ability to manage multiple SQL servers from a central utility space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show really quickly how to set up this data collection. So I'm going to switch over to a remote desktop. Give me just a second here. And this is the demo VM for AX 2012 R2. So with a standard setup of SQL Server, once you log into the SQL Management Studio, you drill down to management. I obviously already have this set up, but I'm going to walk through the steps. So to initially configure this data collection, you come to the data collection node and you go to Configure Management Data Warehouse. And what this does is this will walk you through the process of creating a management data warehouse. And I've already got one, and I've got it named Management Data Warehouse. So I'm not going to walk through, actually creating it again. But basically, it's a 2 or 3 click process, where you walk through, give the database a name, set up security for it, who can has read access to it, who has write access to it, and who can manage it. And then once you've finished and you complete it, it will create this database right here for you. Now, depending on your environment, you may want to create this. This database can actually be used by multiple different SQL Server instances. So what you may want to do is, if you have a test environment that you tend to do most of your management and configuration from, you could create the database there and then point back the data collection that's going to occur on the production server, but point it to use the database on a test server or a non-production server to actually gather it and look at the data. And that way you separate the workload, when it comes to the reporting and stuff. So you set up the data collection next to actually collect the metrics. And to do that, you just come from here and you come in and you'll go to set up data collection. And this will walk you through a series of steps, and this is where you would pick the database that you want. If you leave the cache directory blank, it just uses the temp directory for its cache. And as you step through it, it will walk through. Just 1 second. It's got to think here for just a second, but basically it'll walk through creating the default data collection sets that are going to be used for populating the data into the management data warehouse. Just wait for 1 second here. And this, what's really, really neat about this whole data collection, management data warehouse and data collection is that it's very extensible too. So you can, it comes with 4 default data collection sets, but you can go into SQL Profiler, create a trace for specific events or specific, metrics that you want to collect against SQL Server. And you can save that template as a data collection template and then use it to create a new custom data collection set within the data collection group here. So it's very powerful as far as what it gives you out of the box, as well as what it will give you, kind of access to. So once we step through this, I'm not going to do this because I'm not going to finish it because I've already got them set up, but this is the steps that you would go through to build these collector sets, and this is the end result. You end up getting these collector sets here. This one is turned off by default, and each one of these can be configured for your specific environment as far as like the schedule, how frequent the stuff is uploaded. But once these are initialized, they create jobs under SQL Server agent, and these jobs run in the background. You can see right here that these collection jobs run in the background and collect and upload this data on a schedule. If you want to force an upload, you can right-click and choose Collect and Upload Now. But basically, what I'm going to do now then is so these have been running. So to view the output and start working with the actual data from these. You can go back to your management data warehouse. This is where it's all being stored, and from here you right-click and go to Reports and Management Data Warehouse Reports, and go to the Management Data Warehouse Overview. And this data is just invaluable. So the query statistics give you. This is a non-production environment, so I don't have a lot of stuff going on in here right now. So there's not a lot for me to kind of show you in here, other than to show you that what it does is, it gives you your top queries, and it gives you the ability to drill into the query and see what, exactly what it's doing. You can look at the execution plan, see if there are missing indexes, and find out, what how many physical reads it was doing, and how much, the average duration per execution. So you can really get a good view of what's going on. And if you go to Edit Query Text, it will open up that query text into a query window to let you work with it more. It will also give you the ability to look to see what other queries have had to wait for this query. And here are the execution plans. It shows you, how many times, when the execution plan was last created, what its duration is, and that gives you an idea of whether or not you have problems with, with your statistics or your indexes, or whether you have problems with, you've got plans cached out there that are causing problems because they're not being, freed properly or updated properly because of out-of-date statistics. So to give you a better view of what else you can get from the data collection, though, is if you go into server activity, this gives you everything you need to find out, and diagnose, problems and issues that are occurring throughout the day. What's really neat is that it gives you insight that you probably wouldn't get without doing a lot, running a lot of manual queries and a lot of work to try to derive this information. It gives you information about, exactly where your bottlenecks are in performance, whether you've got locking going on or whether, your storage, whether your disk I/O is causing contention or whether you have network I/O problems. It breaks it all out for you and allows you to drill all the way down into the exact issue. In just a second, we'll get this up and it'll. So here you can see, and like I said, this is all out of the box. This is standard SQL Server stuff. You don't have to pay anything extra for this. It's all there, right there for you. So we use this to go in and identify what exactly is causing performance issues and where we have candidates for optimization. As you can see here, it's going to show you if if memory's a bottleneck or if your CPU is a bottleneck. It just gives you an incredible, shows you how many user connections you've got in your batch requests. But it really gives you the ability to look at this and see what is. Let's find a good one here to look at. We'll go and look at this one here. So if we go down into the server waits, and you can see that you can see exactly what's creating the highest weights, and you can set the time. So if you're looking for a specific interval of time for just in the day, so that you're not kind of getting skewed results because your backups are running at nighttime, or you've got big data extracts that are going on at nighttime they're going to skew results. You can narrow it down to just a 4-hour period in the day or a 12-hour period in the day, which will give you a better understanding of what's happening during your production hours. So you can set that time frame to whatever is appropriate to give you a better view. But if we look down here at locks, so the lock window is just a great tool to see if especially if you're getting locks, you can see that it gives you your lead blocker, shows you the if you go into the blocking chain 1 here, you'll see that it'll show you the query. A lot of times that's the hardest thing to identify is, what's blocking what exactly is the process that's causing, things to, something else to get blocked. So this tool for me anyway, I found that it's really helpful to be able to see, what this selects. This right here, in a more normal environment, where you really do have a lot of queries going on, it's going to show you the select statement that's blocking, and then as you drill down into it, it'll show you exactly, what processes, what got blocked, but then what processes, what the chain was and you can see exactly, what got blocked by who, and that helps you kind of identify whether you've got a specific process right here. So you can see here that this block here started and it caused an upstream block to it. So it lets you see exactly what the query was, and and this one doesn't have any query text available, but normally this would show you what the query was that got that started the blocking and what got blocked by it. And that for me anyway, that helps me better identify what it is in AX that's causing the issues. And of course, a lot of times, it's not, if you've got other databases on the server, it's not just AX, so this is going to tell you everything about all databases. It's not just specific to AX. So if you have another process on the server that's running, that's causing, a lot of contention, or using up a lot of resources, this would help you identify that too. So like I said, so aside from the standard reports that you have in here, and the standard data collection sets, and here's the disk usage as well, which will show you, kind of gives you more information. And what I found is that as you start drilling down, the thing that I like mostly about this tool is that depending on what issue you're trying to resolve, as you start drilling down into it, you find that there are like, there's more information that you didn't even realize existed in here until you went looking for a specific issue. And then as you drill down into it, it gives you more and more information about, that helps you resolve the exact issue. So, anyway, so this is my favorite tool. It's a great tool. I really like working with it. Let's go back to the slideshow. The other thing that's built into SQL Server that I use a lot is the activity monitor. I won't do a demonstration of that. I think it's kind of self-explanatory, or actually I can show you in a second when I go back in here. But it's a really good place if you have an issue that's going on immediately and you want to see what exactly is happening in SQL Server right now. It gives you a really good view of of your I/O usage, your resource weights, what processes are running, and sometimes that's pretty helpful when you want to run something in an AX session and be able to look over at the activity monitor and see what the real effect of it is on SQL Server, to see if there's a correlation between what you're seeing in AX or feeling in AX and what SQL Server is showing you through the activity monitor. This is also where you'd go, if you needed to kill a session if it was deadlocked, or get to a query in a query plan that's taking a long time. It's a very convenient way to do that. So actually, I will go back. So the SQL statement trace log is another effective tool. It's a good tool inside of AX for helping you identify long-running queries and to see exactly what user and what user form is causing issues. So I'll go back over to the VM, and I will show you that. So first of all, what I mentioned about the activity monitor. So from here, if you're not familiar with this, you go to activity monitor with it, from the server level, and this is where, like I said, this gives you a real-time running, view of things that are going on in the system. One of the benefits of this is there's many benefits, but one of the benefits right here is that if you get have a query that's taking a long time to execute, from here you can go right to the query and edit the query text, or go to the show execution plan, and really see what's going on. So you don't kind of have to, you can see immediately that this is to do with batch job history, so you can go, analyze and resolve things and, document, issues immediately, without having to do it kind of offline. So if you go to edit query text, you can go see exactly what the query is that's causing the issue, and then you've got it ready to work on. If you're going to be trying to test it to see what the what the statistics are or what the query plan is. So it's a very effective tool for getting directly at issues. The resource weights, this is a great tool for seeing exactly what's going on immediately right now. Logging, buffer, network I/O, so you can see exactly where the load is while you're running stuff in SQL, in AX. Then processes. Wait for that to load for a second. This is a good way to see how the processes are interacting with each other. So while that's loading, though, I mentioned using the SQL statement log. This is something that I like to use to help diagnose problems. The benefit of doing this is that it gives you really good insight into the stack trace, exactly what tables were being used in that caused the long query. Let me get to it right here. And it allows you to, from the, so you come here, so the SQL statement log is here. To set it up, you go to the user, sorry, not to your user, that's the wrong place. I have to wait now, though. Oh, I wish I hadn't clicked there. So, there we go. All right, so I'm going to go back. My VM tends to be a little bit sluggish sometimes. So what you do is to be able to use this, and I really only use this on a kind of like a per user basis. In other words, if I'm logged on and I'm trying to troubleshoot something, I'll turn it on just for me. And set it so that it's just logging for me, and then I'll go log into a session to use it and see what's going on. But if you go to Tools and Options, this one, like I said, I've used this. This is so effective for identifying an individual issue with a process or something that's going on in AX. So what I do is I go to SQL and I'll turn on the SQL trace. And you have to be careful. You don't want to go tracing everything, so what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll say, okay, well, I only want to log stuff that takes more than 5 seconds. So, I'll put in, 5 seconds in milliseconds, and I'll tell it to log it to a table. And for this instance right here, and I may not be able to get it to punch something out right now, but we'll set it to 1 second right now. But what I'll do is I'll set it for. I don't really care about multiple SQL statements, but I do care about warnings, and I do care about deadlocks, and I care about long-running queries, because this is going to tell me if there's a problem with the query, or that needs to be tuned, or there's a form that's causing issues. So once I've done that, I'll apply it and save it, and then. And I may not be able to show you exactly, the net effect. So I'll just kind of show you where to go to look to see what the net effect is, and then it'll kind of give you an idea of how to use it in your own situation. But what I'll do from here is I'll go to back to where I was, to the SQL. So it's under Inquiries, Database, SQL Statement Trace Log. And I'll go into the SQL Statement Trace Log here, and what happens is it'll log anything that satisfies those criteria, and obviously I'm not going to have anything in there right now because I haven't had any issues yet. But let's have a look here. These are good right here. So these are good warnings right here, but you can see right here, this is what happens. So if I opened up a form and it created a long-running query over 5 seconds or whatever like that, it would tell me right here. It would tell me what the query was. So there's the statement right there, and then it would tell me, where it came from. So this is really good for analyzing. Like if it's, because a lot of times if people have added a lot of, let's say, queues, to Enterprise Portal, those queues become direct queries. So, it could be a queue, or it could be a form, or it could be a report. So this gives you that ability to see exactly what started the issue and what the stack trace was that ran down through it before, that caused the long run. And then it will also tell you what tables were involved. And if there was an execution plan here, if there was like a multiple table query here, you could click on the execution plan and it would take you to back into SQL Server to show you exactly what was issued to SQL Server. So it helps you kind of correlate a user process from a form or a queue and go see what ran in SQL Server and find out why, if there's an index that was missing or, there was some way that you could re-architect the query to get it to run better. So this is a great tool right here. And I think I may be going a little bit too slow here, so I'm going to have to try to pick it up a little bit here. So I'll jump out of here and go to the next slide. So there's so many other tools out there too that you can use, like Dynamics Perf is a really good tool. It offers some of the same kind of stuff as the data collector, and then maybe some more. Performance Monitor is a great tool that everybody's so used to using, but I think a lot of people don't realize that you can actually go to Performance Monitor, and on an AOS server, you can add in AX-specific performance counters that enable you to log and document what's going on between the cache, for the AOS, how many client sessions are being created or killed, or how the use, it gives you usage about Enterprise Portal, and then the trace parser in 2009 was a little bit kind of cumbersome to use. You had to go through some setup to get it up and running. In 2012, it's really easy to use and really effective. And I'll do a demonstration in a second, and I'll step through the Performance Monitor and just show you where those counters are and show you the trace parser. Intelligent Data Management Framework, I think it's only supported in 2012 and not in R2, so I'm not going to deal with that. But I will step into these really quickly. Let me get back over. I'll just show you. So in Performance Monitor, right here, which is a standard tool inside of Windows, you can go into Performance Monitor and you can set up user-defined collections. And this is very similar to the data collections in SQL Server. You can basically set up specific performance counters that use. This one right here uses the, logs information about Enterprise Portal. What I'll show you is that you can actually, if you wanted to log information about the AOS, you can come in here and add performance counters to it. And this is really. Sorry, it's taking a second for my refresh. This is really good if you're trying to diagnose, whether the issue is on the client or whether it's on the server, as far as, communications between the AOS and the client. So right here, you've got the Dynamics AX counters, so you can add all of those. And there's also, there should be a Dynamics AX AOS, set of AOS counters too. Let me see where those are. I'm not seeing them on this server, but there is a set too of AOS counters too. And so all you do is you just add those in to your performance counter, and then you can just run your, Performance Monitor. You can go here and start this counter, this collector, and it'll start gathering that information, about your AOS's Enterprise Portal. So that's a good tool for getting that extra information. I'll stop that. And you can also use this for things like if you're having storage issues, with the back-end storage, you can use this for determining information about your disks and stuff. I think I'm running out of time, so I'm trying to speed up really fast here. On Trace Parser, from inside of AX, once you're in AX, you launch a development environment window. You can do that with Control-Shift-W. And from in here, you can go to Tools, and and start up a trace. Hold on 1 second. So you start a trace, and then once you develop that, once you get the information traced out that you want. Here's a trace that I create. So you start the trace, you collect the information that you want, set your options. Once you've got that all collected, you can just click on Open Trace, and it'll open it up in Trace Parser for you. So it's much more easy than it used to be. So here's the trace that I created, and it was, like I say, it was just a case of select my options, start trace, and then and I just loaded it right in. And then once you've got that loaded in, it gives you a great tool for correlating SQL activity with AX sessions and with AX code. So you can see right here that this gives you, let me go in here. Gives you the ability to see like your top SQL statements and methods and like that, but then it also connects it to your call stack and gives you the insight into what happened in the code that caused those things. So I think I've taken too much time, or more time. I wish I had more time. There's so much more that I really wanted to kind of go through. I'm going to have to step through it really quickly. Once we get all these things done, that it's like I said, it's really important to create those maintenance plans to keep everything cleaned up. There are module-specific cleanup utilities in AX, and these really should be configured at the beginning of your implementation so your tables don't bloat out of control and then it becomes an issue. There are things like the CRM tables. You can set some of the settings there to log less. There's a cleanup utility to keep the invent dim table under control by deleting obsolete inventory dimensions that are no longer referenced by transactions. There's so many of them that should be set up and configured as batch jobs to keep that stuff clean. And here's the list. So like MRP, if you're not running MRP, you need to create some kind of a process, a manual process through a code. Like I normally create a class and then batch it up to keep that invent sum log TTS under control. There's the obsolete inventory. So like I said, there are a lot of different cleanup jobs that need to be done. Lifecycle services, if we come and do a performance review for you or do a performance optimization, the first thing that we want to do now, if you're running 2012, is that we're going to want to set up this lifecycle services project so that we can use the system diagnostics tool. This tool is amazing. It gathers all of the information that I just kind of walked us through and brings it all up and gives you a dashboard of issues and and gives you kind of a proactive way of seeing what you need to do to resolve issues. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it over back over to Gina now and let her finish up. It's been a pleasure talking with you all today. I know that there are people out there that probably know more than I do and use tools slightly different like that. And I would just encourage you to read as much as you can and find the tool that suits your environment the best. And then get to know that tool, and that'll help you the most. So with that, I'll just say good day and thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Nigel. Can you go ahead and go back to there we go. So you can find, again, the bit.ly link, which is a landing page for all of the links that you saw in the webcast. We will, I'm not actually, Jason, not sure how this presentation deck for people that would like to get a copy of this, where that might be available. So we'll chat about that. If that information isn't readily available, you can always email myself, gina.pabulon@fullscope.com, and I can get you a copy of the presentation today. Otherwise, everyone, hope you are all optimized in your AX performance, and if you're not, hopefully you've gotten a few good bits of knowledge and know-how through our presentation today. Good luck with your endeavors, and hope to see you all at AXUG Summit coming up in St. Louis this year. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.